Meeting order at 6:30.
All right.
And first thing to do would be to elect a chairman of the board, chairperson of the board. Are there any nominations? Susan?
I would like to nominate Robin Trask.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. I will nominate Rich as vice chair.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman, I will let you take over.
So I am going to go on to make the other appointments prior to starting or acting on our agenda.
The chair can make whatever appointments it chooses, whenever it chooses.
Right, we have an agenda here, the way we're going to follow it, because it makes it easier for us, because we're all looking at the same thing, but thank you. So we need 3 fence viewers. 3 fence viewers? Do we need 3? Because we've only had 1 in the past.
Nope, one should be fine because these aren't required.
Okay. So does somebody want to make an appointment or make an?
You can put me back in there.
I make a motion to elect Melissa as the fence viewer.
I second that.
A pound keeper. Who was our pound keeper last year?
I don't think that's on the list on the back of the agenda.
So what are you looking at?
I'm looking at making our appointments
No.
before we act on the agenda.
Look at
We also need a tree warden, Robin.
Right. I make a motion to appoint Rich Pierce, if you want that, as the tree warden.
Yes, I've been before, so.
Well, I would second that then.
Has anyone spoken to Richard as to whether or not he would be the inspector of lumber? I haven't. Can we leave that one open and then ask him if he wants to continue that?
Yes.
So these people don't have to be on the select board.
No. Okay. The fire warden, Jean Pettigras. Am I going to make all these motions? Yes, I can. I make a motion to.
Does he want to?
Okay. Would anyone else like to make any of them?
Well, has anybody talked to him?
I have not
He's been
spoken with
happy
him,
doing
but he's
the
happy
Okay,
doing it.
Okay,
So.
but I don't know, that's why I'm
Right.
asking. Yeah.
So I make a motion to have Jean continue as the fire warden.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I make a motion to have Jeanette continue as our select board clerk.
I'll second that.
Emergency management coordinator. I make a motion to keep Jean in that position.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm forgetting that part.
Do we have to, I guess, did we vote? I mean, do we need to technically vote on, you skipped voting on,
Yeah, we do. And I'm sorry. I will get this. I'll figure it out, everybody.
well, like
I'm a little nervous and my face is
on the
really
select
bright
board
red.
clerk.
Yes, on the select board clerk. I make a motion to have Jeanette Haig as our select board clerk.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion as Jean Pettigas as the town fire warden.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Emergency management coordinator, Jean Pettigas.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Environmental officer. We, the board, have been the environmental officer because we couldn't find anyone that really wanted to do it. I would make a motion that we continue in that role.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Green Up chairwoman, Deb Mosier. I make a
As I know
motion. She wants to. I make a motion to keep her in that position.
All right, I second that.
Yeah. And I make a motion to keep
We
John.
gotta vote on
Oh,
her.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the lister, I make a motion to keep Jonathan Stevens as our lister.
I
I'll
second
second
that.
that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agency of Transportation Rep. I make a motion to keep Charlie in that position.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Vermont Solid Waste District Rep. I make a motion to, do you still want to do that, Joe?
I've been doing it forever.
Okay. I wanted to ask you anyways.
Thank you.
I make a motion to keep Joe in that position.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, we need to act on the agenda.
Wait, sorry,
Go ahead.
we skipped civil defense coordinator.
Oh, I thought we went over that. I don't have that on my,
It's on the back of it.
No, we didn't touch it.
Yep.
okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I make a motion to, Chris, do you still want that position?
Not really.
No,
No?
not really. What does it entail?
No.
Can we put,
We can
See.
table it
Yeah.
until we.
We could
do our
table it.
research.
I'd like to make a motion, we table that till the next meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Somebody needs to second it.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, I'd like to act on the agenda.
I move that we act on the agenda as written.
But can I have something I would like to add, but it could also be added for next time when we don't have such a busy thing. But I would just like to put it out there that I think that we should take a couple minutes to just kind of go over town meeting and what was decided about the time and all that. I think it'd be better to do it sooner than waiting until almost the other town meeting.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, sorry,
Town
okay.
meeting follow-up,
Oh, good, okay,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you. Okay, great.
and I have a list.
Oh, good, excellent, that's,
All right, so I
Thank
hope
you.
I
Sorry
move that
about
we
that.
act on the agenda as written.
yeah, I second that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we need to act on the minutes as of February 24th meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes as written for the February 24th meeting. You want to second that or somebody?
You'll have to second it.
Okay, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now, we have the public comment.
No? Okay. Am I first? Or the only one?
Well, you might as well be.
Is yours public comment or,
No, I'm waiting to see opening of the bids on the culverts.
okay.
Okay, as you all know, last year I resigned as cemetery commissioner for different reasons. And I came back to see if I could get you to appoint me, and I don't know if you can, because Jeanette was nice enough to print out stuff from the state and their stuff in the town report. And one of the things I found was that unless it's been changed, that the two other cemetery commissioners have to decide who they want in as the third. Makes life interesting.
So I'm wondering if we could reach out to them.
Well, my
And-
question is, he's an elected official, and my understanding would be that any elected office that is vacant, it is up to the select board to fill, and if someone's here to volunteer, since he was the person who vacated the position especially, I don't think it would be wrong to,
Okay. So I'd
do
like,
you agree, disagree?
I disagree.
Okay,
Excuse me.
Well, that's
I
fine.
hate to be the wet blanket,
no, that's
but
fine.
if you have established a cemetery commission, the commission itself is appointed or is elected by the voters.
right,
If there is a vacancy, the other commissioners get to appoint the replacement until the next election. That's how it works. The select board has no role in electing the cemetery commissioners. So they cannot appoint a replacement.
okay.
That's my reason.
But so the reasoning, that's different from like the zoning or the planning commission, because in that case, you recommend and then we rubber stamp it.
No, you appoint whoever you want, but you get a recommendation.
Yeah,
But you still have the option of appointing whoever you want.
I see.
In the cemetery commission, the voters get to decide who to elect. You have no role in that process.
So,
That's why I'm saying appointing a replacement is not your job.
And so you're saying because of that, then the two people who are on the cemetery commission now, they would have to be the people to agree that he should
That's
be the
right.
third.
They would appoint him
Yes.
until.
Yeah, no, I'm not
the
arguing
next
with you, I
election.
just,
No,
yeah.
I mean, that's
Okay,
how
so it's
it
a
works.
different situation.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I understand, thank you.
So the cemetery commission, well, the cemetery commission has the duties that the select board used to have. So the select board doesn't get to make any decisions and choices according to what I read, so.
I would, I mean,
I'm willing to do whatever, but I got put on the agenda for doing this, so I came down to talk to you about it. And
I'd like to reach out to the cemetery commission and ask them to,
Hank and Nick,
yeah, to reappoint you, appoint you.
okay?
Can we do that? I mean, we can we not reach out to?
You're
We can
treading
ask
on
them to.
somebody's toes.
Well, we can ask them
No,
to
no, ask
consider it.
them if
Right.
they would consider it.
So what do
That it
you
was
think
brought
is
to
the
the
proper
board
thing to
and,
do?
The proper plan to do would be for you to tell the other commissioners you would like to be reappointed
Okay,
to that open position,
I can do that.
and they can do that until the next election.
Oh.
At which time they will elect somebody, you perhaps, as for the full term. You know, that's how it works. There's a well-established procedure for doing that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Let's do it right.
yeah, absolutely. That's
So-
why I brought it up in the first place.
So hopefully you'll be able to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
from my personal point of view, hopefully that you'll just contact them and they'll put you back on and good deal.
Hopefully. Well, if they don't,
They're probably happy to have you back.
I would think,
Sure.
we'll find out.
All right. Okay.
okay, anyone else with the public? No? So we'll move on to, we already organized the board, the annual appointments, we've already done that. Rules of procedure, update and re-adopt.
Do you have copies of?
I do.
You
Yeah, I do.
One that- Does anybody else want? Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
So am I right, Jeanette, in saying that the last time that this was done, it was in 2022? That we all signed, or the board at that time signed it as it is,
As it is written.
as it is
You
written?
may have readopted it at future.
Right, right,
meetings.
right. I mean, I don't think, because we've looked at it just a couple of years ago, I would move that we just re-adopt it as it sits.
I'm just skimming it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has anything arisen during this period since 2022 that the rules of procedure seemed inadequate for situations?
Not that I can think of.
I already read through them,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we didn't have any, there was nothing that has come up in that time that was like, this doesn't
need
work.
to change it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
So
I'd like to make a motion, we continue the,
I already did that, so somebody
Oh, and
needs to
I'll second it.
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye. All right. Yes.
Financial overview,
So each of you should have the first page of our current balance sheet. And as we had a couple new members of the board now, I just wanted everybody to sort of be able to see. So on that first page, I listed all of our bank accounts and what those balances currently are,
Oh, thank you.
just to give you a better sense of where we stand financially. And I can keep kind of bringing things to each meeting,
I think I've
just
seen
for
it.
the sake of
Right on.
education.
I think that's a great idea. I would also, I think it would be a good idea for us all to go over each different line item and understand it.
Is there another copy of it?
Of this?
Yeah.
I think I might have a copy, so let me see.
Thank you. Okay, that's yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. I had an idea of possibly going over each line item at a different meeting than this because we have a lot going on. And maybe adding that to an agenda so that we can all clearly understand what each one of these means and how they're funded and where the money goes and what it's used for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's,
So maybe I'll make a motion that on the next meeting, we just take 15 minutes or 20 minutes of that meeting, maybe we put it on the agenda, to just go through this for all of us, just to sort of, talk right on through it, and this is what this is, so that we all have that. Anybody second that?
yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about the balance sheet currently?
No.
Okay.
No, the more we understand it, the better off we're
I
gonna
think so
be.
too. I agree. Town meeting follow-up.
I did a quick list, just, I was thinking along the same lines as Susan is, there were some concerns brought up by the voters, I feel like you all might want to address some of those things and get back to some of those people who had some pretty serious questions so that they don't just get left out there. And I don't know if you want to look through this list and then decide how you want to. In my mind, it seems like Hank needs some follow-up on East Hill Cemetery in terms of he had concerns about snow being pushed toward the headstones or too close. So I know a couple people have looked at it and the snow isn't that close.
So I just, this is a comment from me about the snow issue up at the cemetery. I was completely, I think I think the board in its situation that are in who we were at that moment in the town meeting. I had never heard that part of it. I'm looking at Charlie because I'd never heard Hank talk about that snow was getting plowed onto the gravestones. Like I had never heard that. So I was like, and I think I even said, Hank, I've never heard you say that about this particular thing. So I didn't know anything about it, but you've checked and it's maybe it was an issue on that day, but it's not an issue generally.
No, it's not on the stones.
Okay.
We wouldn't, that would be disrespectful.
Yeah. So basically, you've checked and looked, and that's something that everybody in the road crew knows that, hey, we don't put snow up on the.
Every year we stack the snow up there because the wind always blows the same direction.
Yeah.
It's the drift wind.
Right, because it's right up there on
across
East.
the road.
Yeah.
So we do it the same way. This year we had a lot more snow
Yeah.
up there, so I don't know if he thought it was on the stones or didn't get
Right.
out to look, but.
So you did check it out. It has
for
been looked
sure.
at. Okay.
And
Perfect.
Daryl was checking as he was pushing up too.
Yeah.
I went up that day after myself and looked, and it's not on the stones. Like Charlie said, it's back a few feet from
Okay.
it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not covering
Good.
any of the stones.
I looked as well.
Yeah. I don't think Hank could have climbed up there to look either.
Right.
You have to
Otherwise, he would have
stand
known.
down at the end and kind of look up behind the snow.
To see.
So my thought was that
I climbed up on top of
we
it.
could write a letter to Hank, because I do know that in one of our meetings, you and I had spoken about even the driveway in there, and that you had looked at it, and it's low on the need to do list.
There was
not.
other
That's a different-
cemetery.
That's the other,
Yeah.
that's the
But-
Middletown Cemetery.
But even, that was another one of his concerns.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
go ahead.
Even when I was on the board, so a few years ago, that was brought up then, and we were supposed to address it, but I believe I left the board before.
Right.
But that's been a concern for a while. Once they repaved that road, the dip going
Right.
from the pavement to the cemetery became much more exaggerated, where cars, you can't get a regular car up in there. So that's
Right.
something we should.
And we discussed it. Hank came to a meeting this fall.
Right.
I think that's what you were talking
Right.
about, Ron, when we talked about it. But I think he's stressing now, it's been 3 years and the town hasn't, the crew hasn't done anything about it. So the first year that he asked, I told him to put it out to bid, that we would supply the culverts. The second year, we had the big flood.
Right.
And
Right,
the
right,
third
right.
year. So it's not like we haven't done anything, it's just,
Right.
it's very low on the priority.
And I think too, with a lot of the different work, and it not just in Hank's situation with the cemetery up there, but a lot of work sort of had to be like all hands on deck. We just got terrorized by a flood, and everything was that.
Right.
So hopefully that won't happen again this spring. Will be, yeah.
So I'm thinking we'll follow up with him about the snow, just to, let him know that we did go up there and checked it out. Is there anyone that would like to write a letter?
Take a
Address
picture.
that? Yeah, take a picture and write a letter.
Right.
So do you think, I'm sort of looking at Jeanette here, should I make a motion that I don't know if we need to, do we want to write him a letter or just to say,
To follow up, I think, because he's very concerned about it, and
Well, it's not just him, it would be to the whole cemetery commission.
yeah,
That would put it on a record. That we
Yeah, that's
have it,
true.
I think
that we
it's
have
so
it.
I make a motion that we draft a letter, just saying that we've looked at it, what we found,
attach some photos maybe. And
attach some photos to him. And the cemetery commission, maybe to everyone on the commission, and then hopefully also you at some point. Saying that we've looked at it. And Charlie, so what do you feel like about, and this is me asking you, so I've made the motion, we're gonna get him this information, the whole cemetery commission in a letter. I don't know if anybody wants to second that part of it.
I will second that.
all those in favor?
Aye. But then just finally, I'm asking for me, so with the cemetery, with the road with the dip and all that, is that something now that kind of goes on the list as being medium
It has
to?
been on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just low. Now
just
with
low
all
on
the
the list.
culverts
Yeah.
and the paving, it's still
Kind of low on the list, but it's there.
But it's there,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good.
Could we, when we have the other culverts done, could we just include that as one that needs to be put in with the rest?
So it's on our list because we can do it easy enough
Okay.
where the other
Yeah.
culverts needed to be contracted out. So it's really not that big of a job, but it's more than the backhoe's gonna wanna do because we're gonna set some very large rocks because we're gonna elevate it so much. We don't want vehicles falling into the ditch that's gonna be created, so.
All right, so but it's in,
Probably when
Can-
we rent the excavator, if we do rent again this summer, we'll just put it on that
Right.
list.
And can you get back with us at some point if you see an opening that you can,
Yeah,
that you'll be looking at it again?
right.
Thank you. Okay, I had thought, and I'm glad to see it here on the list of different things to look at, that we should address town meeting time sooner than later. So I was wondering about putting it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think it's on the agenda, isn't it? Well, part of the follow-up.
Follow up.
I mean, could we not do it right now?
No, I would like to see it warned. I want it to
Oh.
go out to the public. I feel like that's the best way to make it, so that everyone
People could come to the meeting.
come to the meeting and, right. Because I did receive quite a bit of feedback of people that really liked 5 o'clock. I mean, people were telling me over and over again, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
I actually did too. Different people than you.
I actually
Yeah,
did not.
I heard it
but
from one person.
Yeah, right. Did you hear other things?
Well, I get out of work at 5
Oh, so you, yeah.
in Ludlow.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
It's too late. I mean, we already voted it's gonna be on a Monday, so we can't kind of have open it wide open
No.
and say, what's your dream
but I don't want to.
scenario? But we
I
can,
think we should warn it and.
Yeah.
Right, it needs to be warned, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
So-
perfect.
Well, and I would suggest, I'm still happy to put out like a Survey Monkey type thing after you've had that discussion to reach other people. And I'd love to ask people day and time, just so we have that information.
Well, it's not urgent. I think that we make a decision on it, but it's very urgent that we keep it right in our face so we
forefront.
don't forget about it until next.
So let's put it on the next
February.
agenda to discuss it again. Let it be warned that we're discussing it, see who shows up, who does, who doesn't. have Jeanette also put together at that time, we'll wait until that meeting, but have you put together some sort of survey.
Perfect.
So,
So do we need to do a motion of all of what you just said?
yes.
I make a motion to do all of what Robin just said.
That we warn it
Yeah.
for next time.
Do you wanna
that
somebody
there'll be
second
a
it?
discussion.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anything else on the list?
It says here, voters, more budget explanation next town meeting.
That was just feedback I got.
Yeah.
People said, we didn't really talk about the budget. I said,
Right.
okay, I'll put it on the list. I mean, I
Right.
explained how we got to that decision because it's in the book, and I thought if people had questions, they would ask, but maybe unless the board kind of opens a discussion, people don't ask, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually surprised that no one asked any
Well,
questions.
the moderator also didn't necessarily
Right.
bring it to the forefront, and we could easily ask him for next year. I mean, because traditionally you've had, charts and everything up there.
Right. Well, not traditionally, we only did that once.
Well, I've seen it many times, so it just over the course of time.
But I think it's a good idea, so we'll put it.
Yeah. I have a concern. I'm pretty sure that it's connected with being able to have the TV station be able to record us properly, but I just don't like having the select board split in half
Me
by
too.
that lectern. It just makes me
Yeah.
feel like who are we?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think ideally maybe we'd go up on the little stage, but I think maybe the TV cameras need to be there. But at minimum, I would really like the moderator in the corner where they
far
used
left.
to be.
I agree.
In that place by the piano. And the other thing is, I know that I know why we have. It makes it easier to hear the sound remediation with those panels, but it really did make the hall seem a lot smaller. And I know Scott likes to stand in the doorway, but I could see there were other people behind him. It really made the rooms significantly smaller. I don't know if the soundboards made it easier to hear or not.
Well, maybe we can pull them back a little.
It certainly
further to
made
the
it
walls.
darker in there
See it,
in
yeah.
a way
Maybe
that.
we can reconfigure it. But I agree about because there were a couple times where I had raised my hand and the moderator didn't see
Yeah.
that I had, and then there was a couple other people next to me, someone next to Jeanette that did the same thing, and so I think it is important to have him in a corner so that he can oversee everyone and not have to be looking behind his shoulder.
Is that correct that if we don't talk about this now, it's not gonna, the conversation isn't gonna happen. But is it correct that the TV cameras need to be up on the stage? Because we take up a huge amount of room. I don't know. When's the last time the select board has been on the stage, I wonder?
Never been.
Never. Yeah, I don't know.
Could they work
But-
up the balcony at all?
We had worked the room the other way where we sat, where the tapestry was and the benches were the opposite way. It seemed like there was more room in
More
there
room.
than.
But I remember
me.
coming to a meeting and not on the select board, but coming to a meeting where the moderator was in the
Right.
sitting in the crowd. He was in the far left corner, and then the whole select board sat together. And I agree. I think that's way better.
The select board needs to be together
Yeah.
because it's so
Yeah.
hard for us to.
So at least we
maneuver
all
amongst
agree
one
on
another.
that, so that next year when it I don't think we need a motion or anything. I think we just all kind of agree.
So when they throw a pie, they don't have to throw two pies.
That's right. They don't have to double fisting the pie.
Get us all at once. And then the last one on this list is highway expenditure transparency.
I just heard that come up and that probably is part of the budget discussion. Is,
Oh, yeah.
Just explanations of any details that people wanted to know in the budget and didn't ask. But just making sure that they get the opportunity.
So maybe I'll just make I don't know if I need to make a motion, but maybe I'll make a motion that next year It goes on the agenda right before the town meeting. I don't know if I can even do that, but to look at the structure of the seating and then also bringing up something very specific about now have questions about the budget. Can I do that?
We need to remember.
And I think also we need to look at the line items so that we all understand it, because we can't comment on something that we all don't understand fully. So
we're in agreement. I guess we don't need to do any motions, just.
Well, and I would also suggest that if major furniture moving, if there's a desire for lots of furniture moving to change all of that layout, then the more hands, the better.
right.
Right,
There are a
right.
lot of tables and chairs in that space now that did not used to be there. And it wasn't just the panels taking up space, there are a lot of tables and chairs, and they are heavy.
Right.
So just, Jonathan and I have set that place up by ourselves.
Oh, yeah,
So-
that,
I'll be sure to ask ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah, I was
when
gonna
do you
say
guys wanna
that's-
meet and set
Right.
up for town meeting?
Yeah, we
which
could
is
absolutely do that.
doable.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely doable.
And maybe we wanna use folding chairs instead of the benches because it gives us, I think we can pack more chairs in that space.
I think so too.
I mean, the other thing we were dealing with honestly is that's the most number of people who've ever attended town meeting. There were 85 people there.
Yeah, which is good, and maybe
Yeah,
there'll be
that's great.
more. I mean,
Right.
hopefully.
Right. So yeah, definitely optimizing the
All right.
space better.
So
for
we all
sure.
need to remember that when it's time for this again, we're all gonna bring our friends and family to help set it up.
Yeah.
And then help take it down.
Well, and the other thing this just sort of touches on too is there are a lot of tables over there that aren't being used because they are so heavy. And I would like to ask the board to consider either donating them or do we put them in storage in the basement and not plan to use them? And the other thing that's over there that probably nobody knows is there's a piano tucked in the corner.
Yeah.
I've had this job for 9 years and no one's ever touched the piano except to move it out of the way.
Right.
So it might be worth advertising to just see if someone might need a piano.
so how about we add that to a future agenda?
Sure.
The conversation of the piano and
the
also the
tables and
tables.
the stuff in there that's.
Right, because we do have a lot to go through
Yeah.
tonight.
Town hall inventory.
Yeah, and also, once we get into the MERP,
Oh,
The-
this gentleman has his hand up.
They used to store the tables downstairs, and whoever used the town hall, they would bring them up, set them up, use them, and then when they were done, take them back downstairs.
yeah,
And they did, in the past, have the select board sitting on the stage.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, those are all things we can do a trial run or something.
That's before there were 5 of them.
No, they were fine.
I remember.
We'll all like each other.
I remember the 3 of them sitting up there.
Right,
Might have been when the town hall was over there.
so we'll move on to old business. MERP discussion.
All right, and I think I'm seeing our MERP lady back there.
Right. I've looked over one of these pretty intensely.
Which one?
And the Stevens and Associates.
Okay.
I have not made any calls. I did have a few questions, or I wanted to bring a few things up in regards to it.
Let's have a look. She's not.
One of, and I like this, I like their proposal. I like the way it's written. It makes it easier to read and it's very detailed, and I did like that as well because they really lay out exactly what they would do and what they are responsible for versus what we are. One of the things that I kind of think would be a great idea is that if there are local contractors out there that want to be used, would we use them? Is that something, the board feels is a good idea?
I would think though, we would be asking her possibly
Right.
about this, about whether that's part of this, meaning, not to interrupt you.
Right, well, we can,
I mean, making a decision about proposals that you have.
right,
You put out an RFP, and in the RFP, it said what you were gonna be considering when you were
Right.
looking at proposals, so. I would just suggest that you go through that section of the RFP and, you're looking at qualifications and experience.
Absolutely. But it is nice if we can, look at some people that are local, or not. One of the things that I didn't see addressed in any of the other bids is the hazardous mitigation. And that's a real issue, and it's a huge cost. And it's not addressed in the other two bids as far as I can see. And this bid, it isn't part of the bid.
Just specifically
It's
not
specifically not included in the bid price.
Wow.
That is one of the things that makes, I do like this, I like the way this bid is written because it is so clear that it isn't. They're very clear on what is and what isn't. So you had brought at the last meeting the idea of having people come and speak with us that are putting out these bids. Thank you, Palmer, for being here. I love it when people come to the meetings that were, I think that's a great idea if we can get them to come and kind of talk over what they've given us here.
So the you're saying the vermiculite is the hazardous material, and isn't that like a big part of what we want for this building?
From what I understand, if we are to, and I'm not a building contractor, so bear with me here. From what I understand, if we're going to be re-insulating, that would need to come out. And that is considered a hazardous waste material. And the problem with that is what we're looking at is none of these bids address it except this one, and this one says that it is not part of the bid. So it will be an additional cost, and that cost could be very great. So I think we need to really look at that, and that needs to be a discussion with anyone that we contract with because of the cost that is involved with that. My thought is we need to dig a little deeper into these. I'm not prepared to make a decision tonight because I think we need to make a few calls and find out more about whether or not, what they're, maybe we can check references, but also what does that involve? Because that's a huge part of our.
That's so great that you happen to read it so carefully and notice that. But have you come up with this kind of thing before? Like what's happened?
It's one of the things I was going to suggest, that you contact each of them and ask them, tell them that there is vermiculite
Right.
in this building. And so they'll have to at least test and come up with, include that in their
Right.
bid documents so that the contractor knows how to deal with it.
Right.
Can I ask a question on the time frame for this? So, my understanding is we'll be getting a grant for this, correct?
We've been
Yes,
approved for the
we've been
grant.
approved.
Okay, and then is there a time frame on the grant when it has to be implemented?
Everything has to be complete by when, Martha?
Well, so the whole project is has to be complete by the end of December of 2026. That's including all the work done on the building.
Right, okay. So we have a window to do more investigation. That's all I was wondering about.
We
I
do.
mean, it's a pretty tight timeline.
Right, I understand.
Um,
So, stepwise, what would that communication look like?
I think we as a board, we could choose one person, or that we need to call these different entities and ask them these very, very specific questions. One in particular is about the hazardous waste.
Is that the only hazardous, like
That's a good question.
that pink
because
insulation stuff in the town hall, is that considered?
No, but
that's not
vermiculite
hazardous.
is, and then
Yeah.
when you start digging into everything, I don't know. What are these tiles made of? I don't think that those are asbestos or anything like that, obviously.
Well,
But
I think mold could be a huge concern in
yeah.
all of the buildings.
oh, that's a good point.
Especially the town hall, because there's been water leaking on that insulation forever.
I was actually kind of surprised that it wasn't part of the assessment in the beginning, because it is such a, when you're building and tearing things apart. Another thing, I'm sorry, I'm kind of, I'm bouncing around here, but another thing that I found in this bid, and I'm going off this bid only because it was so detailed, that also any concrete, not concrete, but the block walls wouldn't be part, like if we break into, these are all masonry walls, and if we were to break through them, masonry work is not part of this as well. I encourage everyone on the board to read these.
Well, I read in the Turner one, there's a thing where you have to sign at the end saying if they come up with, if you come up with unexpected stuff, they're not going to cover it, and maybe that's a disclaimer they're all going to have. I don't know.
It may be. If you look at, this isn't by page, but if you look at the one that I'm looking at, these are all the things that are not part of their bid, and they're very significant. One of them is masonry restoration. That would be any one of
Page
these that we
numbers are
break
on the
through.
top, and it says page 8 of 9.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty scary. I mean,
You see? Do we all have one in
Yeah.
this copy? Another one is communication and security systems. So I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not sure if that means if they needed to, I mean, I'd like that explained, because I don't know if it means they needed to put back together some sort of wiring that goes in and out of our building. I don't know. Interior design in addition to sections of cabinets, flooring, paint, furniture, fixtures, and equipment are excluded.
So that would be probably, the interior design would be like if the cabinets, flooring, paint, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So if they did the work and then everything had to be painted, or, right? Isn't that what that's meaning?
Right.
Do you think?
I don't know exactly.
I'm guessing that's what it
Yeah.
means.
I think they bid on more than the Andover one, I can tell you, and I think they've got the same list of exclusions on all the bids that they put in.
maybe we could start by inviting one or all of them to give us a Zoom presentation.
I think that's a
Is
great
that-
idea.
Is that asking too much too soon from,
I think we have to come up with some really good questions.
well, like what we're talking about now?
Right. And specific questions.
It's just a lot of money.
Where would you like to, I mean, what is everyone thinking about where they'd like to start with this?
I'd like to read them all.
Right.
I mean, I really haven't had an opportunity to.
So do you want to,
Do you have copies of all of them?
I don't, but I do now in front of me. But I would say it sounds to me like the hazardous material assessment is a concern that could be something that needs to be done and yet could be costly.
yes, oh, absolutely.
Right.
So the question I would have is, would we have each of these companies that have put forth a proposal come and assess it and do an estimate, or would we seek an estimate from a contractor that does that work and share that data with each? I mean, it just seems like there's two
Right.
possible approaches
Right.
with each of the architectural firms,
That might be a good way to
because
address it.
someone should be able to give us a specialized person or company that does that sort of work should
Right.
be able to give an estimate. Because if they put together these budgets aiming for a certain target price, right, or total included cost, and that is another, I'll make a crazy guess, $50,000, then other scope would have to be adjusted, am I right?
It will, I don't know, it would depend on whether or not they were willing to take that on, or if that was something that was going to be part of the work to be done, work to be performed.
Okay.
It's very possible that would take a specialized crew that just,
I think that's a great idea, though, to look into somebody that actually does abate the materials, and
Would
then,
it cost us money to have them come do that?
It would.
Right.
for an
Does that
estimate.
money come out of the MERP money, or would that be additional money charged onto the town?
She's got her hand up.
So one of the other communities did ask for that, and they just, what they added in was that the architect will engage a licensed company to test the buildings for hazardous materials. So they added an amount into that.
Just for the assessment though,
Just
Yeah, not the-
assessment.
not a quote.
Not getting rid, you're not a quote to get rid of,
So it sounds
Because
deal with
would be the contractor or a contractor who would get rid of it or tell you how to deal with it. It says, so it goes on to say if remediation work is required, we recommend bidding that scope separately, directly to a remediation company. Because a general contractor might not want to take on the risk of dealing with that.
So I wonder if so say, just for the example, say we went with this company because we like their agenda, and we say to them, hey, we want to add an inspection for anything, that's going to be considered hazardous. So they add that to it, and then they say, okay, they come in, they look, yeah, there's vermiculite up there, so that's going to have to be part of the scope of the work. Would that come out of the grant? Meaning, is any of this have to come out of the pocket of the town versus the grant money? I guess that's really if you boil it all back, that's the question we're looking at. Like,
Correct.
we don't want to get in a situation where, it's like you said, $50,000 to remediate all this, but the grant doesn't cover it.
I mean, the grant gives you 20% for soft cost, which includes this help you're gonna get from an engineer or an architect. It gives you 10% contingency, so, depending on how much you
Ish.
spend on the engineer and the architect, you
Right.
probably have some additional money.
So I think maybe, because I think your idea is great to have it looked at, Rich. I think that's a really good idea, but I'm also thinking we don't want to pay for that. So maybe getting a hold of these companies and saying, hey, we want to add this to it. Like you're saying, another town did that. Hey, we want to have it checked out for hazardous materials. And have it in here so that the grant would absorb that and not, because we just don't want, if it's a grant, we want the grant to cover all and any possibilities, I think, is where we're at with it.
and the grant would absorb looking into it,
Right.
not necessarily the cost of
Right.
having it done.
Right.
So does the grant indeed, can it be used to have hazardous waste or hazardous materials?
It's my understanding, like I said, that, the 20% for contingency, soft costs and 10% for contingencies. We are meeting with BGS tomorrow, so I'll ask them.
Yeah, can you
That would be
ask that?
great.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be really great. So
Because
how about, I'm going to just make a motion, maybe, since we're all in agreement generally what the fear is here, right? So I'll make a motion that you go ahead and find, if you can answer that question, and then bring it back to us.
Yeah.
So that we can know for sure, is this something that can be absorbed by the grant? Worst case scenario, is the grant gonna cover it for the most part? Or could we get caught, for lack of better words, with our pants down and suddenly have to pay out of the taxpayers' money $50,000 to abate it before the grant kicks in?
Right.
So if you can ask that question for us and bring that back, maybe I make a motion that we, at the next meeting, if you can come back, we would really appreciate it with that
or
information.
send an email.
Or send an email.
Send an email.
Well, I haven't actually booked on your next meeting night, so
Okay.
I can't come to that.
Could you just send an email to Jeanette then with that question?
Can I ask one more question? You've mentioned a couple of times that there is a certain amount for contingency, and you used another term, I believe was soft cost.
Soft costs, yeah.
Okay, so my understanding is anything could come up as a contingency, and that's a good safeguard to have in case other things come up. So it's probably not a good idea to pre-dedicate the contingency to something like this. Is that correct?
Right, I mean, ideally.
Okay, and the same thing with the soft cost. Those are incorporated because They're for things that you don't know about yet in general, or things that will happen.
The soft spot is more for like hiring your,
I see. So that's for architectural firms and so on, consulting services and so on, not the actual work. Okay, so, yeah. Good, thank you. I just wanted that clarification as to what those are normally used for. Sounds to me like they shouldn't be used in advance to plan for something like hazardous waste or hazardous materials that we know exists.
Yeah, we are, and they would have to be addressed
Right.
with some of the work that we would need to do. If we chose to do that work,
Right.
we could always decide not to address the insulation in the ceiling. Or not, but we need to know where they are also. We need to know because there's nothing in any of the assessment that even speaks of any of the hazardous materials.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Charlie said, even the mold, there's nothing anywhere in this.
I mean, I don't know anything about vermiculite. I mean, some things
I
they
thought it
want
was
you
good
to
and I was
just.
gonna use it on my
They just,
plants, but.
some things they always say don't disturb it, just
Yeah,
leave
right,
it, you know. And
So
what do I know if we even
Yeah.
want to go in there?
Do we need
I
to make a
don't know.
motion to ask her to ask that question, to send you an email with the answer? No. Okay, so
So
good.
I don't mean to keep interrupting, but it is an insulation issue as I understand it. So currently the vermiculite is an insulating material, right? And this grant, I believe, is for energy,
Right.
right? And therefore, replacement of the vermiculite may be within the scope of the project to improve insulation,
Correct.
right? So in that sense, as an insulation material that might need to be replaced, it seems to me that it should be included in the scope, but not the hazardous part.
Right, it might need to be, depending on what they determine, it could be, instead of just putting additional
Right.
insulation over the top, they might have to remove
They
it
may
all
have to
first.
remove a lot of
Right.
it. Right.
Right, so,
And that is where it becomes specialized.
Right.
And that is where this firm has said that those will be supplemental services.
Right.
So it would be good for us to read each one of these, come back with questions, and then bring them to each one of the firms that have submitted proposals.
I mean, my skill level in this area is pretty close to zero. So I think it would be good to have people involved who have looked at bids for architectural work before and these sort of scope things, as opposed to
All of us.
all
But
of us.
although we are the ones that need to,
We have to make the
the decision.
Right. But is there
So
someone we could consult with?
that is a really great question.
Well, for starters, we could ask some of these people who submitted the bills. I mean, and is there a hazardous mitigation company around here?
Right.
Having them come and look at it.
Except that'll cost us money.
Oh, yeah,
We don't want to do that.
yeah, right.
So, I don't know how old the Londonderry town office is, but I'll assume it's similar age, maybe even older
Right.
than ours. I would be willing to reach out to Londonderry just to talk to them and see if
Right.
they ran into anything similar.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great.
I don't know any of
That'd
the
be
other,
great.
I don't know them either, but I don't know any of the other ones, but that seems like the easiest one to
Yeah.
start
Right.
with.
To start. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Do we want to add this to the next agenda?
Yeah.
And then we'll all dig into this and
Yep.
come up with different questions for one another and different ideas. I'll look into what type of hazardous material assessment companies are out there.
Okay.
Maybe
Now,
I
Melissa,
can-
did you have a motion on the floor before us that you were going to?
Well,
you had a motion
I
to have
didn't
to-
actually need a motion for
Okay.
her to. She agreed that she'd email Jeanette with
Okay.
the question,
Good.
and
I
then
just
Jeanette's going to get it. I know that's what I said too. Do I need to do something else? And we didn't really need to. So,
Okay.
but thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay.
just one other thing, if you don't mind. the Stevens Associates, they did reach out to me today and asked if you had made a decision. Said we're meeting tonight. I think your RFP said you would make a decision around March 10th. So do you want to get back to them and do you want to get back to each of them and ask about just ask them about the hazardous material testing?
I do. I actually want to I would like to see, because we have a new board, see all the board members read each one of these.
Okay.
Because I feel like we're kind of going into this blind if we don't all read these and dig through them. Our next meeting is when?
24th.
The 24th. Do you think it's better that we get back with them? Because we could get back with each one of these companies and saying that we're still looking into it.
If you
And ask
would
questions.
like, or if you want, I'm also happy to reach out to each of them and say that you'd like an additional information on identifying any hazardous materials.
Yes.
That would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Please.
And then if you could just email that to Jeanette, and then it's going to be, because in the next 2 weeks, hopefully we can do sort of all the due diligence that we need. And if we have that information from them, then we'll maybe be able to make a decision, like at the next meeting. Does that seem
Yeah, it seems, yeah.
reasonable?
I think it's probably time is of the essence to get it started.
Yeah.
It is, but I don't think tonight is the night.
I agree.
Right,
I agree.
so it'll be the next meeting. Okay. Next, new truck.
Oh,
We all stare at Charlie.
that's right, I'm forgetting, I was thinking.
That's what you're here for. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I talked to Craig, about ordering, so we have a truck being built, so you guys know. I think Chris knows already, but Rich probably doesn't. We have a truck being built that we should see, we've been hearing now a couple of weeks maybe. 10-wheeler to replace the current 10-wheeler that we have. And then because of the backlog of trucks being built now, are trying to order a second 10-wheeler to replace the 6-wheeler that I run here. They've changed this year the kind of the down payment portion of that, and they were looking for the payment in full of the cab and chassis of $164,000 and change. And I had called the salesman, and he was willing to take, he said, at least 50% of that instead of the 164.
Perfect.
So I think the other 3 board members were brought up to speed on
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But we just need to have an answer so I can tell him to order it, or if we're waiting, or what you guys want
Have
to
you
do.
seen this, Chris?
And so that's kind, and Jeanette, that's kind of beautiful if they'll take half of that, because then the rest of
Right.
that stays in the
Stays
interest
in.
bearing, right?
Exactly.
That's,
And it doesn't,
So-
yeah, it doesn't,
I think we'll still be
Plus
owing
interest.
the $299 or whatever for the 10-wheeler that we'll be getting soon.
right. So we've been actually, and I'm saying to Rich and Chris, the board as it was for at least 4 months maybe, we've been talking about this and talking with, and the guy came to talk to us, and it's really a situation where you can't kind of, there's it's kind of been happening for a long time, and we need that truck. So I'm going to say that specifically because he halved what we have to pay up front, and we've talked about this for so incredibly long, and we've looked at everything, and we've looked, and you've gone through the deals and done all the things. I would make the motion that we go ahead and finally do this, because we've been working on it for a long time.
I second it.
I have a concern.
Yep.
Where's the body coming from, Charlie?
The body's coming from Canada, but this threw me off too. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, I was wondering about Tara.
So Viking Surveys is the company. It's coming from Canada, but Viking Surveys owns the body shop that it's coming from, so it's technically an international company. So I don't think we're gonna get caught up. I already asked the tariff
That was
question.
my concern.
I asked the salesman that, and he said he didn't see any reason that they would change the pricing because it is their company. It's not like they're buying from another company and then having it shipped over for them to complete.
Although
It's
one,
an in-house company.
That's what I'd say if I was the salesman too.
and
Yeah,
once,
I know. We certainly asked that question.
once we've locked in a price, they can't change it, so.
Well, it's a quote, so.
Right.
Yeah, and we have that for the body package
Right.
already.
So,
The only thing we don't have as of now would be like a trade-in value for the six-wheeler that's
Right.
here. And really, I think we should still just move ahead with it, but I can try to have him come and give us a soft price. He
Yeah.
gave us a good price on
think-
Josh's truck with a guarantee that he was basically gonna have it at the beginning of this year, and then you know where we are now, so.
Right.
He's still honoring that price to the best of my knowledge, because I had that talk with him, because he said if it didn't go through another plow season, and here we are coming to the end of this one. And he said mileage didn't really affect it a whole lot, it was more condition, as long as it's not all banged up and falling apart, he was gonna stick to that number, so I think we're okay there.
All right, so I'll stand on my motion. I think you
I
seconded it.
second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, order, yeah.
Yay, I'm so
Place your
glad.
order.
That was November.
It's like this, I know, that's what
I
I'm
know.
saying. We've been
been
going over
working
the
on
numbers
this,
and
right.
going, I'm like, oh, okay, excellent.
I learned more about truck
Right,
heads and
I think we
bodies.
all
and-
did.
I'm sorry, I thought my phone was off, sorry about that.
Spring is sprung.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? Crickets, great. Okay, pre-paving culvert replacement, moving on to 7.
So here are 2 bids.
And I'll get better at this as time goes on, everyone.
You're doing fine.
It's working.
Palmer's
Yeah, you're
one of
doing
the bids.
great.
If you have any questions, he's here.
Okay. So, this is from M&M. Yeah, this,
Fitting cool. Fitting window.
Yes, unless the board decides to
That's fine.
relook.
Should do push out $1 more than ours will.
specific estimate to dig up 3 existing, do you want to look at these as well, Charlie? In
I've
case there's,
met with both contractors, so I know everybody's on the same page.
so if native soil is unsuitable for backfill, gravel will be extra. You're aware of that as well?
Yeah.
So this is a $62,000 bid from M&M.
Do you want me to read it out loud for you?
Do we want to read the whole?
I would.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Sorry, learning. This is a proposal submitted to the town of Andover for culverts 19-19.3-19.6, dated February 26, 2025. We hereby submit specifications and estimates to dig up 3 existing culverts, install 3 new culverts supplied by town, backfill around culverts with crushed gravel, backfill trench with material on site, and compact backfill top with approximately 18-inch crushed gravel. Haul excess fill away, build head walls. If native soil is unsuitable for backfill, gravel will be extra. We propose hereby to furnish material and labor complete in accordance with the above specifications for the sum of $62,000.
Okay.
All right.
Just let me get this on here.
Is this a company we've worked with before, Charlie?
This is M&M.
I have many years ago, but not in the town of Andover.
Okay,
This is a company out of Chester,
okay.
right?
They're both out of
Yes.
They're
Chester.
both out of Chester.
Yeah.
And then Palmer, you're gonna make me read a lot.
Palmer wrote a novel.
Lori has to make sure.
Oh, Lori.
Perfect.
Of course you did. Okay. So they have an equipment rate here to the town of Andover, Palmer Goodrich. Option 1, The following is my quote for the replacement of 3 culverts on the Andover Western Road by the Oxbow corner, as shown by Charlie Golden, road foreman. Scope of work. Culvert number 19. Remove necessary guardrails. Remove existing culvert saving material for backfill if adequate. Install new culvert provided by the town of Andover. Install new materials provided by contractor around new culvert just to cover. Gravel size to be determined by highway foreman. Backfill and compact cover materials in 12-inch lifts as backfilling is done. Install 1.5 gravel for final layer compacted to road height. Install 8-inch minus ditch stone around culvert outlet. What is minus ditch?
It's riprap.
Riprap, okay. Seed and mulch where necessary. Culvert number 19.3 and 19.6. Fill existing culvert with flowable fill. Dig a trench for new culverts in the same area, depth to be determined by highway foreman. Install new culverts provided by the town of Andover. Install new materials provided by the contractor around the culverts just to cover. Gravel size to be determined by highway foreman. Backfill and compact cover material at 12-inch lifts as backfilling is done. Install 1.5 gravel for final layer compacted top to road height. Install 8-inch minus ditch stone around culvert outlets. Seed and mulch where necessary. Install guardrails. Backfill materials cost per load of $650 per 16-yard loads. Delivered should on-site material be unsuitable upon decisions of the highway foreman. Option number 1, quote, 3,000. I'm sorry, 3,000. Farmer's gonna jump over here and kick me. $35,174.80. Town of Andover to provide all culverts. Option number 2, build time and material for above scope of work. Our equipment rates and material list is attached. Town of Andover to provide all culverts. So,
That's just all the.
do you want me to read all of these to you, or would you like to look at them? So what Palmer's giving us is the choice. Go ahead.
I'm just giving you 2 options. The option 1 is a lump sum bid. Scope of work is the same. Option 2 is time and materials, and there is my equipment rates and material rates.
And do you want me to pass this around so you can all see
You
the
have an
equipment rates?
estimate for option 2?
Option 1.
Option
The
1.
same or less, we hope.
So we're comparing
what was the
62,000 to
total
35,000?
For the option
At the
1?
moment,
Is
yes.
that what we're talking?
What was the total cost for option?
62?
This one is $35,174.80.
So it was 62 and 35?
M&M excavating is 62,000.
But Charlie, did you feel there was a significant difference in what was being done for the 2
No,
prices?
they both basically specified if, the soil was not good under the road, that they'd have to haul in better gravel to put under there. To speak on the time and materials, I'm a huge fan of doing time and materials work because you get exactly what you're paying for. Typically in a quote, you're gonna cover your butt, so you're gonna go a little higher to make sure you make a profit. Time and materials, you have it right there in front of you. You know how much the man hours are, you know how much the equipment hours are, you know how much the material is. You pay for what gets put in. So there is no upcharge as far as if the material's not good or not, you're just paying for what you put in. So I love time and materials.
And
Not too many people do it anymore because they're looking to make a fair profit.
Right.
Yeah, and excuse my ignorance, but have we worked with
Palmer?
Mr. Goodrich?
Yeah.
We've worked
Yeah,
with
many,
you
many
before,
times,
so,
yeah.
okay.
Right.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know who you
No
are, but
problem.
I didn't. Oh, okay, so,
M&M is gonna completely dig them out though, right?
If he didn't specify, I know they were leaning towards that when I talked to them in person. I told them that if I had my way, I'd just fill them. But I think they were concerned about the flowable fill being able to go all the way through the culvert. In my opinion, the culverts are still good enough that the flow would travel through there. So flowable fill is just a real wet concrete with very small aggregate. It's like a grout.
Right.
And you just get it in a concrete truck and you'll smash down the end of the culvert on the outlet side and you just slowly fill it from the uphill side and it'll fill it in and then it hardens like concrete when you're done. So that culvert over the years doesn't create a void when it completely fails under the road. And it saves you having to dig down because I think the outlet on, I think it might be the 19.3 one, whichever one it was, it's like 16 feet deep. So we don't have to have the new culverts be that deep down. The inlets are only 6 or 7 feet. If you run a couple of percent across the road, you might be 10 feet or so. And then you can just rip wrap down the bank to keep erosion from happening later on.
So that's kind of like a fill, using a type of fill. I mean, if you're filling the culvert.
It's a flowable fill. You get it from the concrete companies.
Right.
They deliver it and then you pump it in.
As opposed to digging it out and having to use even more material to create that.
Right.
So
It's the compaction that
And you
gets me nervous.
you compact it. If you dug it out and you compact it on your way up through, but it's still not the same. It's not as good as what's there now, not touched. Correct, Charlie?
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
You know.
So if you dig down 10 or 16, you're trying to put it back as tight as it is right now.
Right.
And that's
I mean,
deep. That's
you
real
can
deep.
get it, but it takes, the guys water it down and have soils engineers come in and check the compaction.
It's a lot of work.
And you'll be putting a culvert right on top of this,
Well,
correct?
top, side, wherever
Side,
Charlie
wherever
said.
it
I
needs
kind
to be.
of left it up to Charlie exactly where he wanted it. But I mean, the inlet would stay the same because
Right.
you don't want to change, the course of
Yeah,
the water
yeah.
coming into it. So,
Yeah.
but
Do you-
nowhere near as deep.
Do you all understand what he's saying?
Yeah.
Right. So, if he has a culvert, he's just gonna fill it up and use it
As fill.
as fill.
Right.
For lack
Just
of a
gonna
better
stay
way
there.
of, it'll stay where it's at. And the integrity of all the,
Just because we're gonna be paving over it so soon,
Sure.
so it's not gonna have Mother Nature compacting it for very long. So it's gotta be done with a machine
Right.
and hope for the best.
so those are our bids. What do you think?
I
Do
think
you
that-
have a recommendation, Charlie?
I spoke my mind, I think.
Yeah, well, I personally would make a motion to go with P&L Trucking.
I'll second that.
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
Would you
time and
like the-
materials?
Option one, now we're spending on
Yeah.
option one, but I understand at home I might take the other option. This is not necessarily my money though. I like pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just throwing out the way.
Nope, I
I mean, I've done construction my whole life, so I kind of see the other end of it. It's really the only thing I've ever done. So that's just the way I feel.
Wait, so you're saying you prefer to work time and materials, but you're not sure which you're recommending us to
No,
do?
I'm saying if it was 100% up to me, I'd do time and materials, but it's a very valid point.
Right.
Yeah,
It
okay.
could go over the 35, and then you'd be like, well, you said time and
Right,
materials.
still way less than
There's
So I
no
guess
guarantee. So
my-
a quote is a
A quote
quote.
is a quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question, Palmer, is how familiar are you with, because you do a lot of work for the town, how familiar are you with these culverts in particular in this area?
Oh, we do quite a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, in,
Andover, Grafton.
right, but ours, no, I mean these culverts that we're actually having replaced, how familiar are you with that area of our town and?
I guess I've never
Yeah.
done any up there,
Yeah.
except during the flood, right, Charlie? I mean, we were in that
Yeah,
area.
you did it work in the river.
We did work in the.
I'm just trying to give everybody a little bit of idea of how closely, the bid.
I think it's going to be very close. When I do something like this and give somebody both options, if I get all said and done and I give you a bill for $55,000 on time and materials, I'm not going to get any more work from the town of Andover. All right. So when we create a bid, a lump sum bid, I use time and materials to create that quote,
Right.
okay? I mean,
That's, I guess, what I was assuming. Maybe I shouldn't have assumed that, but I kind of was. So I guess I was
the only thing that would change drastically is if we hit something unforeseen. And the material thing that we dig the material, I've stated there, M&M stated it, if the material's not suitable for backfill, and we have to bring good gravel in, that's in both bids anyways.
Right.
That's in time and material, and that's in the quote. So that's,
Yeah, well, I would move that we go with Charlie's.
It's already, we had a
Well,
motion.
I had a
Okay, well,
motion.
I'll second
I didn't
it
say
then.
which. I didn't say which. So my first thought was, and just, I guess I'm kind of thinking like Chris was thinking a little bit. If it were me, I would probably go with number one being the quote that is a hard quote one way or the other. But I don't know how everyone else feels about that. I think Robin disagrees with me.
I do, but
Explain to me so that I know why.
well, I'm kind of leaning on just because Charlie. This is something that he knows more about these.
That's true.
And I trust his judgment, I guess.
Okay, so
But I do understand the hard quote. What do we have in our budget for this?
Well, I guess we could look it up.
so that you want me to leave the room while you say that number?
no.
There isn't a line item in the general fund budget to replace culverts. When we do paving, it's out of the highway bridge fund. There's $425,000 in the highway bridge fund.
Which is also for all the paving.
For all the paving.
Right.
And the culverts have
All right,
probably
so-
ordered but not good.
And the outside
Yeah, they're not here yet. I
contracting
ordered
line item in the general fund, if you went that route,
Right.
that
All right.
was left at $20,000.
So we would need to.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
done.
Just coming from the contractor, it may sound a little funny, but I would do any job for anybody, time and materials first before a quote. It's the fairest to everybody.
Okay, so let me change my motion. I move that we accept the time and materials quote from P&L Trucking for this work.
I'm gonna second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
So if you have to remove material and dump it somewhere, where would you take it?
You wanted to hear that, didn't you?
All right.
Looking for Phil?
No, I sold it, I just
All
figured
right.
if that's the closest place, take it there. That's what I told Charlie years ago, if you've got.
So
stuff
I do
to
have
dump-
one question though about, I'm sorry, I'm still asking you
No problem.
questions. Because you said about the asphalt grinding, is that something that you haul away, or do we stockpile it, Charlie, that you can use?
The
or-
asphalt. that
That's
comes
just
up.
on my materials list.
Okay,
Materials from my pit that I sell.
okay, all right.
Whoever was gonna get the job, was gonna take the asphalt away. I think he's just showing what his materials cost there. There won't be any asphalt grindings.
There won't be any on any of these.
No, all those
Gravel to the
materials
surface.
that are on that list, we won't be using. That's
It's
just
just
my,
everything.
just
It's
that's
just
just
your
my
list.
whole
Yeah.
list from my pit.
Right. I just wondered if we did indeed have because I'd asked that before, if we were grinding any asphalt,
No,
is it
we're
something
not.
we can sell back to the contractor, or is it something we can utilize if it's ground up
Just
and,
dig out
Stockpiled
the
here.
existing.
okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry, you know, I should have put that.
Sorry for the grilling.
That's all right.
We were
I'm really
grilling,
sorry.
grilling the heck out of this
Stick to
there.
your agenda.
No, I've got to get better at this.
No, it's
How to move the agenda around. Okay. Highway, pre-paving,
That was what we just did.
and
We're
road commission report.
Getting late.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Aye.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
So Chris is our road commissioner. Do you have a report for us?
Yeah,
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
I think you got an appointment though.
Oh, we have to
Didn't we
appoint-
already?
We already did.
I think we did. I think before you came in.
We can do it again.
That's all right.
Didn't we, Jeanette? I think we did.
I don't think we
Chris was
did.
here at the beginning of the meeting, very close to you. I don't think you guys.
I don't think we did.
Was that,
It may not have been on the list. Well,
he was.
I make a,
Oh, civil defense coordinator. That's what we got from you. It wasn't on the list, I don't think.
so I make a motion to appoint Chris as the road commissioner.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now do you have a report?
You're right. What do you got to say now, mister?
You just got on the job, haven't you?
Okay.
Financial orders?
So this will be new to Rich. So Rich, what happens at every meeting is I run a report of the invoices that I paid since the last time we met. And so that's all on here. So anything's up for discussion or questions, ask me what it is, what went into it, and you'll all sign off on it as part of this. And one of the things that was on this list says authorize one or more board members to review and approve orders on behalf of the entire board. So what traditionally has always been done by this board is you all vote on a person to come and see me once a week and sign all the invoices. I pay the bills, and then I run this report for all of you to see what that designated person signed off on.
I move that that designated person be Robin Trask.
I'll second that.
What day do we do
Now,
that?
I don't know if you wanna have a second person. You're gonna have to come and spend time with me once a week and sign off on payroll and sign all these invoices.
So I'm wondering, and I'm gonna put you on the spot right here in front of everyone, is that something you'd also like to learn about how to do?
Because I can walk here, is that what you're saying?
Well, no, you and I can kind of together and
Yes.
work together as a
I thought
team.
that
Because
too.
this
I'm like,
is new to me as well,
Yes.
and so I'm wondering if we can
Yes.
team up, okay? So do we need to make a motion for that, or do we just?
yes, the board has to authorize a second person to.
Okay, so I made a motion that Robin Trask was the first person. Second it?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And, oh, can I make the motion? I'll make the
Yeah.
motion. I'll make a motion that Rich is our second person to help sign off on all these
But
things.
you're
I'll second that.
You're co-equal.
Right, we're gonna work together.
Yeah.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chris, you can pass that second one that way.
Supposed to be amounts on here.
Yeah, why wouldn't there?
Am I not seeing it?
Maybe it didn't. You know what, that one has them, I think. Let me rerun it.
The minuses over here?
Yeah. Just
That one
said,
has it, right?
yeah, this one's correct. I was just like, oh.
You probably cut them off. It was probably in.
No, Rick just did an update
I just like to
last
pick on
week,
this
and the
stuff.
reports don't have amounts on them. Even my payroll report didn't have amounts
Oh,
on it.
nice.
It was,
Isn't that frustrating?
um,
That's why I don't update mine.
let me print a new one.
We kind of gone past highway stuff. Ain't no issues with running out of salt, is there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be okay. The last one I ordered was from Cargill, which was coming like one I ordered about 2 to 3 days, and it's been a week and a half, and I haven't got it yet. So we're not in fear of running out. We have 3 loads in the shed. The shed only holds 4. Usually I use a load, I try to fill it back up.
Please. Thank you.
You're gonna need one too.
So I don't
Rich, if you
think,
don't
I
have
don't think we're going to, and it looks like we're
Oh, you
kind
got
of
one.
on the
There you
back
go.
swing
I'll
down a
take
little
that.
bit.
Taking notes.
On the Anvil side of Oregon.
Yeah.
Won't that be nice?
And I totally trust you, Jeanette, but I'm not signing something with no numbers on it.
That one doesn't have numbers either?
No,
this
no,
one's
we're
fine.
teasing you. We're just teasing at this point. Okay.
So did Chris originally sign these? Because I know normally Chris signs them and then, no, because, right?
Sign off on all the sections.
You did already. Yeah.
Right, those reports refer to invoices that Chris Plum already signed.
Right. I was just wondering if I signed, right, sign up on these.
That sounded like an awful lot of pages. Something like that.
More numbers on there.
Right? You want numbers? You got numbers. And there's a nice big number on there too, you can see. Let me staple them together.
Chris, I thought maybe that you would bring some leftover cake with you. I was hoping.
Maybe the church get rid of it.
Is there any left at the church?
No.
I bet not.
That's way better.
Make more sense.
Yeah.
And here are the minutes from the last meeting that need to be signed by
Somebody down
the
there.
people who were at the meeting. Well, you guys were at the meeting, actually.
Yeah, well, I don't like the last one.
That's the out one, huh? And that's only half.
Green Mountain Unified School District.
Oh, jeez.
Ooh.
It's the worst.
And that's only half of the half that we sent to the state.
So do we have a folder that these go in?
Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna give them to her.
Oh, there you go.
So.
Next week will get reconfigured.
I just
then.
signed.
And
Yeah.
Not nothing,
Okay.
but the first copy didn't have any of that.
Oh,
Just had that, like,
okay.
check number and where it went, but not how much.
Next week we'll shift up so that you're closer to her.
Right.
Got it.
somebody else can have the hot seat right in front of the camera.
Right, that'll be Chris. Chris can switch down here next week and sit next to me.
It's working just fine the way it is. We have a room.
Yeah.
So, Rich, do you have, you have the thing from Stevens that I had, do you have copies of these other two?
So what I have is.
You have the John Turner?
Turner
Okay, so you do have
and
those.
Architect,
Okay.
and I
Well,
do have Stevens under here, but I don't think Chris also has Stevens. I think, oh, you got it?
We all
I
three.
thought I got this from you. so-
No, yeah. Okay, that's all right. Why don't you keep that and then you'll have a chance to look at it. Just
You want a copy of this? You want me to run this off? Okay,
It's
good.
very moved to Margaret, so.
Okay. Only have a copy.
I don't have any correspondence.
All right, I move.
Question. Who is going to, regarding correspondence, who's going to write a letter to
Hank,
Hank?
Melissa's really good at writing nice letters. Do you want to do that?
I can write a letter to Hank.
Okay,
All right.
excellent.
And I want to be able to just to cover a couple of bases. So, who are the number of people that observed, or went up and looked? You looked, Robin, right? And you looked, Charlie. Was there anyone else who went up and looked?
Robert said he looked.
Robert went and looked. So, board member, employee, and another person went and looked at it. No snow was actually on the headstones,
Right.
right?
Only what came down naturally, not plowed over on the
Right, right. And the snow has to be on that side of the road because of wind conditions.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
been
correct?
that way forever.
Right. So those are the things that I'll say. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
We inspected it. Nothing was on the headstones.
Right,
Thank you very much.
sure.
Okay.
Sounds great. So do we need to make a motion that you're the one that write it, or we just all agree?
Just agree.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.